The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of the solar system like a dark mountain floating in space. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim watched the sensors from his command chair on the orbital defense platform New Seoul. The alien vessel was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Behind it came 50 more warships, each one bigger than Earth's largest battleship. "Sir, they are sending a message," said Lieutenant Gina Park from her communication station. Her voice stayed calm, but her hands shook slightly as she worked. "The controls. Put it on the main screen," Hyunwoo said. He had been waiting for this day for 3 years. Ever since the first reports came back from the outer colonies about a great empire that ruled the galaxy. The screen flickered and showed an alien face. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern and skin that looked like gray metal. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding stone. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Council. You will submit to Imperial rule immediately. Your species will provide 75% of all resources to the Empire. Your young will serve in our military. Your technology will belong to us. You have 1 standard day to accept these terms." The alien paused, and its 4 eyes seemed to look directly at Hyunwoo through the screen. "We have conquered 847 species. All of them eventually saw the wisdom of surrender. Do not make us destroy your world to prove our power." The transmission ended. The bridge of New Seoul became very quiet. Hyunwoo looked around at his crew. They were all young people from Earth and the colonies. Most had never seen real combat, but they had trained hard, and they trusted him. "What are your orders, sir?" asked Commander Minho Choi from the weapons station. Hyunwoo stood up slowly. At 45 years old, he had fought in the outer colony wars against pirates and raiders. He had seen what happened when good people did nothing against evil. He walked to the communications panel and activated the transmission system. "Open a channel to all ships and stations in the system," he said. "Also send this message to the alien fleet." Gina worked quickly at her station. "Channel open, sir." Hyunwoo took a deep breath. Behind him, the bridge crew watched and waited. Through the viewports, Earth hung in space like a blue and white jewel. It was home to 8 billion people who had never asked to be conquered. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo Kim of the Terran Defense Force," he began. His voice carried clearly through the communication system. "To the ships of the so-called Galactic Empire, I have this message. Earth declares all Terran space off-limits to your empire. You have 24 hours to withdraw beyond the heliopause. This is your only warning." The bridge crew stared at him. Even Gina looked surprised. They all knew the human fleet was much smaller than the alien armada. Earth had 12 battleships, 30 cruisers, and maybe 100 smaller vessels. The aliens had brought enough firepower to destroy planets. The alien response came quickly. Veltar appeared on screen again, but this time he was laughing. The sound was like metal scraping against metal. "Foolish humans," the ambassador said. "You have no dreadnoughts. You have no planet killers. You have no exotic matter weapons. Your largest ship would not survive 1 shot from our smallest escort vessel. I will give you 1 more chance to surrender before we demonstrate the price of defiance." More laughter came through the speakers. Not just from Veltar, but from other aliens in the background. They thought the human response was very funny. Hyunwoo turned to his tactical officer. "Status report on all defense platforms." "All stations ready, sir," reported Captain Do-hyun Nam. "Luna Base is online. Mars Station is ready. The asteroid belt monitors are active." "Good," Hyunwoo said. He opened a private channel to Dr. So-young Lee at Luna Base. "Doctor, is the grid prepared?" "Yes, Admiral," came the reply. So-young's voice sounded excited. "We have been working on this for 10 years. Every system is ready." "Stand by," Hyunwoo said. He closed the channel and looked back at the main screen. The alien fleet was moving deeper into the solar system. Their ships moved in perfect formation, like they had done this many times before. Gina received another message. "Sir, the aliens are demanding to speak with Earth's government." "Tell them they are speaking to Earth's government," Hyunwoo replied. "The Terran Defense Force speaks for all humanity in matters of war and peace." This was not entirely true, but it was close enough. The governments of Earth had given the military full authority to handle the alien threat. They knew that politicians could not fight space battles. The alien fleet continued to advance. Their ships were impressive and frightening. Each one bristled with weapons that could destroy cities. Their shields glowed with energy that could stop nuclear missiles. Their engines left trails of exotic particles that human science barely understood. "They are passing Jupiter's orbit," reported the sensor officer. Hyunwoo nodded. "Signal all ships, prepare for Operation Swarm." Around him, the bridge crew began working frantically. This was what they had trained for. Messages flowed between Earth's scattered fleet. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid fields began moving to new positions. Defense platforms that looked like space debris activated their systems. The alien fleet kept coming. They showed no fear of humanity's small navy. Why should they? Their intelligence reports said humans were a young species with primitive technology. They had not even figured out faster-than-light travel until recently. What the aliens did not know was that humans had been preparing for this meeting for a very long time, not with big guns or fancy shields, but with something much more dangerous: human imagination. "Admiral," said So-Young Lee from Luna Base, "we are detecting energy buildup in their lead ship. I think they are preparing to fire a warning shot." "Let them," Hyunwoo said calmly. "Sometimes the best way to show an enemy your strength is to let them show you theirs first." The alien dreadnought fired. A beam of pure energy lanced out and struck a small asteroid. The rock simply disappeared in a flash of light. The message was clear. This could happen to Earth. "Impressive," Hyunwoo said. "Now it is our turn to show them what humans can do." He opened the fleet communication channel one more time. "All ships and stations, this is Admiral Kim. Today we face an enemy that thinks we are weak. They think we will surrender like all the others before us. They are wrong. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not bow. Humanity fights. Begin Operation Swarm." The alien fleet continued its advance toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming power. They had no idea that they had just flown into the most elaborate trap in human history. Commander Min-Ho Choi floated in the zero-gravity section of the research vessel Incheon's Pride near Jupiter. Through the observation windows, he could see the alien fleet moving past the gas giant like a school of metallic fish. Their ships gleamed in the distant sunlight, proud and untouchable. "Dr. Lee, are you ready?" Min-Ho spoke into his communication headset. "All systems green," came the reply from Luna Base. Dr. So-Young Lee had been working on this project since she was a graduate student. Now 32 years old, she was the smartest engineer in the solar system. "The nanobots have been dormant for so long, I almost forgot they were there." Min-Ho smiled grimly. For 15 years, human ships had been seeding the solar system with trillions of microscopic robots. Each nanobot was smaller than a grain of sand. They looked like space dust to any sensor. They had no power source, no active electronics, nothing that would give them away. They just floated in space, waiting. "Begin activation sequence." Admiral Kim's voice came through the communication system. So-Young's fingers moved across her control panel at Luna Base. She had designed every part of the nanobots herself. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering, built with materials the aliens had never seen before. "Sending activation pulse now," she said. Across the solar system, something extraordinary began to happen. Millions of tiny robots that had been sleeping for years suddenly came alive. They had no lights, no sounds, no visible signs of activation. But they began to move with purpose. The alien fleet commander, Admiral Jektor, stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Sovereign's Will. His four eyes watched the human fleet with amusement. The little human ships were trying to form a battle line between the aliens and Earth. It was like insects trying to stop a landslide. "Shall we destroy them now, Admiral?" asked his weapons officer. "Not yet," Jektor replied. "Let them see our power first. Fire a demonstration shot at their largest ship." The main cannon of Sovereign's Will charged with energy. The weapon could crack a moon in half. But as the energy built up in the weapon systems, something strange began to happen. The nanobots had found the alien ships. Billions of them swarmed over the hulls like invisible ants. They were so small that the alien sensors could not detect individual robots. They looked like cosmic dust settling on the ships. But these tiny machines were far from harmless. Each nanobot carried programming that had taken human scientists decades to develop. They could analyze alien materials, learn how foreign technology worked, and then take it apart piece by piece. The first nanobots to reach Sovereign's Will began studying the ship's hull. They found metal alloys that did not exist on Earth. They discovered energy conduits that carried power in ways human science had never seen. They mapped the ship's entire structure in minutes. Then they began to eat. The nanobots did not destroy the ship violently. Instead, they carefully disconnected circuits, rerouted power flows, and reprogrammed computer systems. They were like tiny surgeons operating on a patient, except their goal was not to heal, but to disable. "Admiral, we are experiencing power fluctuations," reported the alien engineering officer. Jektor's eyes narrowed. "Cause? Unknown, sir. All systems show normal operation, but power efficiency is dropping." The alien admiral was not concerned. Yet, ships sometimes had technical problems. But across his fleet the same reports were coming in. Power systems were acting strangely. Weapons were losing targeting accuracy. Shields were flickering. Captain Gina Park watched from the bridge of her stealth frigate Ghost of Busan. Her ship was hidden in the shadow of an asteroid, invisible to alien sensors. She could see the entire enemy fleet through her advanced telescopes. "The nanobots are working," she reported to Admiral Kim. "I can see the effects starting." "Excellent," came the reply. "Phase 2 begins now." Gina activated her ship's special payload. Ghost of Busan was not armed with missiles or energy weapons. Instead, it carried dispensers filled with millions more nanobots. These ones were different from the sleeper robots already in the system. These were hunters. The hunter nanobots shot out from human ships throughout the solar system. They moved through space like clouds of intelligent dust, seeking alien technology to consume. They were programmed to multiply using enemy materials, turning the aliens' own ships into factories for more nanobots. On Sovereign's Will, Admiral Jektor was becoming angry. His ship's main weapon had failed to fire. The targeting computer kept showing error messages. The shield generators were running at only 60% power. "Get me a full diagnostic report," he ordered. The engineering officer worked frantically at his station. "Sir, all individual systems test perfectly, but somehow they are not working together properly. It is like something is interfering with our computer networks." Jektor had conquered 47 worlds. He had seen many different types of weapons and tactics, but he had never encountered anything like this. His ships were being attacked by an enemy he could not see or target. "Could this be some kind of computer virus?" he asked. "Impossible, sir. Our systems use quantum encryption. No primitive species could break our codes. But the nanobots were not breaking alien codes. They were simply cutting the wires that carried the encrypted signals. They were removing the quantum processors that generated the encryption. They were eating the computers from the inside out." Dr. So-Young Lee monitored the attack from Luna Base. Her screens showed data streaming in from billions of nanobots throughout the alien fleet. Each robot was a tiny spy, sending back information about alien technology. "This is incredible," she whispered to her assistant. "Their ships use materials we have never imagined. Their power systems are centuries ahead of ours. But they have one fatal weakness." "What is that?" asked the assistant. "They never encountered an enemy that fights with biology instead of technology. The nanobots were not machines in the traditional sense. They were hybrid creations, part robot and part living organism. So-Young had based their design on Earth bacteria that could eat metal and plastic. She had given them the ability to reproduce, to evolve, and to learn. The aliens had built their ships to resist energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, and exotic matter bombs. They had never considered an attack by microscopic life forms that treated their advanced alloys like food. Commander Min-Ho Choi watched the battle unfold from his observation post. The alien fleet was still moving toward Earth, but something was clearly wrong. Ships were drifting out of formation. Weapons fire was sporadic and inaccurate. Some vessels had stopped moving entirely. Admiral Kim, he reported. The enemy fleet is showing signs of system failures across all ship classes. Good, came the reply. Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was the most dangerous part of the plan. Until now, the nanobots had focused on disabling alien ships without causing explosions or other obvious signs of attack. But now it was time to be more aggressive. The nanobots received new programming through quantum communication links. Their mission changed from disable to destroy. They began targeting critical systems, life support, navigation, communication, and weapons control. On Sovereign's will, Admiral Jektor felt his ship shudder. Emergency lights began flashing throughout the bridge. The air itself seemed to taste different. Life support is failing, reported his environmental officer. Oxygen production is down 40% and dropping. Jektor's four eyes widened in alarm. A ship could fight with damaged weapons or broken shields, but without air, the crew would die in minutes. Emergency protocols, he ordered. Seal all sections and switch to backup life support. But the backup systems were also failing. The nanobots had found them too. They were systematically destroying every piece of technology that kept the alien crews alive. Across the fleet, alien ships began sending distress signals. Some vessels lost power completely and went dark. Others spun out of control as their navigation systems failed. A few tried to retreat, but their engines would not respond to commands. Captain Gina Park smiled as she watched the chaos through her telescopes. The mighty alien armada was falling apart without firing a shot. Human ingenuity had defeated superior firepower through the simple strategy of thinking smaller than anyone had thought possible. Admiral, she reported, the enemy fleet is in full disarray. Several ships are dead in space. The others are experiencing critical system failures. Understood, Admiral Kim replied. All ships, prepare for the final phase. It is time to show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity. The nanobots had done their work well. Now it was time for the human fleet to finish what the tiny robots had started. The emergency beacon from Admiral Jektor's fleet reached the Galactic Empire's nearest command post within hours. 3 more battle groups immediately jumped into the solar system, their ships emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation. These reinforcements brought the alien fleet strength to over 200 vessels. Admiral Velquan commanded the new arrivals from his flagship Divine Retribution. Unlike Jektor, he had studied the reports of the First Fleet's mysterious failures. His ships entered the system with all defensive systems active and sensor sweeps running continuously. Maintain formation, Velquan ordered his fleet. Whatever weapon the humans used against the First Fleet, we will be ready for it. Lieutenant Commander Yoonji Seo waited in the cockpit of her experimental fighter Soul's Fury, hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Her ship was unlike anything in the official human fleet roster. The fighter's hull was covered in metamaterials that bent sensor waves around it, making it invisible to alien detection systems. All Phantom units, this is Control, came Admiral Kim's voice through her secure communications. The enemy has taken the bait. Begin hunting protocols. Yoonji activated her ship's stealth systems and moved deeper into the asteroid field. Around her, dozens of other human vessels did the same. These ships were the result of 20 years of secret military research. While the aliens had focused on building bigger and more powerful weapons, humans had perfected the art of not being seen. The alien reinforcement fleet moved cautiously through the solar system. They had learned from the First Fleet's mistakes and kept their ships spread out to avoid concentrated attacks. But they were still thinking like conventional military commanders, expecting to face an enemy that would fight by traditional rules. Captain Jin Young Kang commanded the destroyer, Busan's revenge from the shadow of a large asteroid. His ship looked like space debris to alien sensors, just another piece of rock floating in the belt. But hidden within its disguised hull were railguns that could punch holes through the heaviest armor. Target acquired, reported his weapons officer. Alien cruiser bearing 270, distance 40,000 kilometers. Jin Young studied the tactical display. The alien ship was part of a patrol group searching the asteroid belt for human vessels. It was exactly where he had expected it to be. Humans might not have the aliens' advanced technology, but they understood their own solar system better than any invader could. "Fire," Jin Young ordered. The railgun sent a tungsten rod flying at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectile was too small and too fast for the alien cruiser's sensors to detect until it was too late. The rod punched through the ship's shields like they were made of paper and tore through the hull from nose to stern. The alien cruiser broke apart in a silent explosion. Before its escort ships could react, Busan's revenge had already disappeared, behind another asteroid, its stealth systems making it invisible once again. "Control. This is Phantom 7, Jin Young reported. First kill confirmed." Similar attacks were happening throughout the asteroid belt. Human ships would emerge from hiding, strike fast and hard, then vanish before the aliens could respond. It was not the kind of honorable space battle the Galactic Empire was used to fighting. Chief Engineer Mi Young-oh monitored the battle from the command ship Sejong's Will, hidden in the shadow of Europa. Her screens showed data from hundreds of nanobots scattered throughout the alien fleet. The tiny robots were not just weapons anymore. They had become the eyes and ears of the human forces. "The aliens are adapting their tactics," she reported, to Admiral Kim. "They are keeping their ships closer together and using active sensor sweeps." "Expected," Kim replied calmly. "Phase 4 begins now." Phase 4 was more aggressive than the earlier attacks. Instead of just disabling alien ships, the nanobots began actively helping human weapons. When Yunji fired missiles at an alien destroyer, nanobots attached to the enemy vessel guided the projectiles through gaps in the shields. When human ships used energy weapons, nanobots reflected and focused the beams to increase their destructive power. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could turn their own ships against them. Every surface of every vessel had become a potential weapon for the humans to exploit. Admiral Velquan watched his fleet's tactical display with growing frustration. His ships were dying one by one, picked off by an enemy they could barely detect. When his forces tried to concentrate their firepower, the human ships simply disappeared. When they spread out to search, they became easy targets for ambush. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," reported his communications officer. "Put it through," Velquan said. Perhaps the humans were ready to negotiate. Admiral Kim's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm and confident, not like someone whose species was facing extinction. "Admiral Velquan," Kim said, "I am giving you the same offer I gave your predecessor. Withdraw from Terran space immediately, and your remaining ships will be allowed to leave unharmed." Velquan's tentacles writhed with anger. "You dare make demands? We still have more ships than your entire species has ever built." "Numbers mean nothing if you cannot use them effectively," Kim replied. "You have lost 47 vessels in the past 6 hours. At this rate, your fleet will be destroyed within 2 days. Is your pride worth the lives of all your crews?" The transmission ended. Velquan stared at the empty screen, his 4 eyes burning with rage. No species had ever spoken to the Galactic Empire with such disrespect. He would make the humans pay for their arrogance. "All ships," he ordered. "New orders. We will not be drawn into these guerrilla games. Set course directly for Earth. Maximum speed. We will destroy their home world and end this war." The alien fleet began moving toward Earth, in a tight formation. Their shields overlapped for mutual protection, and their weapons were charged and ready. If the humans wanted to stop them, they would have to face the full might of Imperial firepower in open battle. But Admiral Kim had been expecting this move. As the alien fleet approached Earth, it flew directly into the most densely populated region of the nanobot swarm. Trillions of the microscopic machines had been gathering near Earth for hours, forming clouds so thick they began to affect the behavior of light itself. Dr. So-Young Lee watched from Luna Base as the alien fleet entered. The swarm, her nanobots had evolved far beyond their original programming. They had learned from every alien ship they had consumed, becoming smarter and more dangerous with each victory. "Beginning final phase," she announced. The nanobots did not attack the alien ships directly. Instead, they began working together in ways no individual machine could accomplish. Billions of them formed into larger structures, creating objects that were part machine and part living organism. These new creatures wrapped themselves around alien vessels like metallic vines. They ate through hull armor and burrowed into the ship's interiors. They found the crew quarters and began consuming the atmosphere the aliens needed to breathe. On divine retribution, Admiral Velquan felt his ship shudder as something massive struck the hull. Through the viewports, he could see silvery tentacles writhing across the ship's surface, each one made of countless nanobots working together. "Damage report," he demanded. "Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12, came the panicked reply. "Something is eating through our armor plating. Life support is failing in multiple sections. The aliens had weapons that could destroy planets, but they had no defense against an enemy that literally consumed their ships from the inside out." One by one, the vessels of the reinforcement fleet went dark as the nanobots completed their deadly work. Captain Do Hyun Nam watched the destruction from his command post on Mars Station. The alien fleet that had seemed so threatening just hours before was now nothing but floating debris. The nanobots had taken them apart like a swarm of army ants dismantling a fallen tree. "Admiral," he reported, "enemy fleet is completely neutralized. No survivors detected." "Understood," Kim replied. "But this is not over yet. The Empire will send more ships. We need to be ready for the next wave." The solar system had become a graveyard for alien ambitions, but the war was far from finished. News of the defeats would reach the Empire's core worlds within days, and they would respond with even greater force. Humanity had won the first battles through superior tactics and innovative technology. But the real test was yet to come. When the Empire's full might turned toward Earth, would human ingenuity be enough to survive what was coming next? On the industrial world of Kepler 442b, human mining engineer Taimin Lim worked 16 hours a day extracting rare metals from the planet's toxic surface. Like millions of other humans scattered across the galaxy, he had been captured during the Empire's expansion and forced into slavery. The alien overseers treated him no better than a machine, feeding him just enough to keep him working. But today was different. Hidden in the routine data packets that controlled the mining equipment, Taimin found something that made his hands shake with excitement. It was a coded message from Earth, transmitted through a network of rebel sympathizers across dozens of star systems. "Earth has defeated 3 Imperial fleets," the message said. "Resistance is not only possible, it is succeeding. Prepare for liberation." Taimin looked around the mining facility. Hundreds of beings from different worlds worked alongside him. Blue-skinned Altarians, crystalline vegan tree people, gaseous Centaurians contained in mechanical suits. All of them slaves of the Empire. All of them believing that resistance was hopeless. He began spreading the word carefully, person to person, species to species. Earth had done the impossible. The humans had said no to the Galactic Empire and made it stick. Back in the solar system, Admiral Kim stood in the command center of New Sol, studying reports from across human space. The victory over the alien fleets had been complete, but he knew it was only the beginning. The Empire ruled millions of worlds and had resources beyond imagination. "Status report on the nanobot evolution," he said to Dr. So Young Lee. "Remarkable progress," she replied, her eyes bright with scientific excitement. "The nanobots have absorbed technology from over 200 alien vessels. They have learned to replicate Imperial shield generators, FTL drives, and exotic matter cores. We now have access to technology that is centuries ahead of anything we could have developed on our own. How long before we can use it? The first human ship equipped with alien-derived technology will be ready for testing within a month. We are essentially reverse engineering an entire galactic civilization." Kim nodded. The nanobots had been designed as weapons, but their ability to learn and adapt had turned them into the greatest intelligence-gathering tool in human history. Every alien ship they consumed added to humanity's technological database. Lieutenant Commander Yoonji Seo docked her fighter Sol's Fury with the research station orbiting Saturn. Her ship now carried experimental weapons that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. The results were impressive and terrifying. "The new systems work perfectly," she reported. The fusion of nanobot intelligence with human tactical thinking gives us capabilities the Empire has never encountered. Chief Engineer Mi Young-oh was overseeing the construction of humanity's first truly hybrid warship. The vessel looked human on the outside, but its interior systems were a fusion of Earth engineering and captured alien technology. Most importantly, the ship itself was alive with nanobots that could repair damage, adapt to new threats, and learn from every battle. "We are not just building better ships," she explained to her engineering team. "We are creating a new form of space combat. Our vessels will be able to think, evolve, and grow stronger with each engagement." The news from Earth spread across the galaxy faster than the Empire's sensors could stop it. On every slave world, in every labor camp, in every Imperial facility, beings whispered the incredible story. Humanity had defeated the unconquerable fleet. The Empire could be beaten. On the ocean world of Proxima 7, amphibious Keplerians who had been forced to harvest kelp-like organisms for Imperial food processors began organizing secret resistance cells. They used the human example as proof that rebellion was possible. On the gas giant mining stations of Wolf 359, the crystalline Shellyak, who had been enslaved for 3 centuries, began planning coordinated strikes against Imperial infrastructure. If humans could fight back with invisible weapons, perhaps the Shellyak could use their natural ability to survive in toxic environments to sabotage Imperial installations. The message was always the same. Earth had shown that the Empire was not invincible. Resistance was possible. Back in the solar system, long-range sensors detected the approach of the Empire's response. Admiral Velkron of the Imperial High Command was coming personally, bringing with him the 4th Grand Fleet, over 300 of the Empire's most advanced warships, including the massive planet killer Divine Judgment. "This is what we have been preparing for," Admiral Kim told his senior staff. "The Empire's full attention is now focused on us. Every ship they send here is one less ship enforcing their rule elsewhere in the galaxy." Dr. So-Young Lee had spent the waiting time well. The nanobots had not been idle since their last victory. They had spread throughout the entire solar system, creating a defensive network unlike anything that had ever existed. Every asteroid, every ice crystal, every particle of space dust now carried the microscopic defenders. "The system is fully saturated," she reported. "We have approximately 40 trillion nanobots in position. They have formed a collective intelligence that spans the entire solar system. We are not just defending Earth anymore. We are defending human space with a living, thinking defense grid." The nanobots had evolved beyond their original programming, in ways that amazed even their creator. They had learned to communicate with each other across vast distances using quantum entanglement. They had developed the ability to predict enemy tactics and adapt their responses in real time. Most impressively, they had begun to reproduce using materials found in space itself, turning the solar system into a self-sustaining fortress. When the 4th Grand Fleet arrived, led by the kilometer-long Divine Judgment, they found something no Imperial force had ever encountered before. The solar system itself had become alive and hostile to their presence. Admiral Velkron stood on the bridge of Divine Judgment, his 8 arms working controls that could coordinate the destruction of entire star systems. He had crushed 7 rebellions in his career, turning rebel worlds into fields of glass and ash. The humans would be no different. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. "Target the 3rd planet. We will make an example of this species that will be remembered for 1,000 years." The planet killer weapon of Divine Judgment began charging. The device used exotic matter to create a beam that could crack the crust of a world, boiling away its oceans and atmosphere. It was the Empire's ultimate expression of power. But as the weapon charged, something unprecedented happened. The nanobots, throughout the solar system, had learned from every piece of alien technology they had consumed. They understood how the planet killer worked, and they had prepared a response. Trillions of nanobots positioned themselves in the path of the weapon's discharge. As the beam fired toward Earth, the microscopic machines began working together to redirect the exotic energy. They formed a lens of living matter that bent space itself, turning the planet killer's fury back upon its source. Admiral Velkron watched in horror as his own weapon reflected back at Divine Judgment. The beam that was meant to destroy Earth instead struck the flagship's hull with the force of a collapsing star. The massive vessel, pride of the Imperial fleet, died by its own hand. The destruction of divine judgment sent shockwaves through the remaining alien fleet. For the first time in the Empire's history, their ultimate weapon had been turned against them by a species they considered primitive. "This is impossible," transmitted Admiral Velcron in his final moments. "No species has the technology to redirect exotic matter beams." "You are correct," came Admiral Kim's reply. "No species has that technology. But humans do not fight with technology alone. We fight with imagination, adaptation, and the refusal to accept defeat. Welcome to the new reality." The Fourth Grand Fleet, leaderless and demoralized, began a hasty retreat from the solar system. But the nanobots followed them, attaching to their hulls like invisible passengers. When the surviving ships reached other Imperial worlds, they would carry with them the seeds of rebellion. The message was spreading faster than the Empire could contain it. On world after world, enslaved species looked up at their alien overseers with new eyes. If humans could defeat the unconquerable fleets, perhaps freedom was not just a dream. The age of Imperial dominance was ending. The age of resistance had begun, and at the center of it all stood Earth, the small blue world that had dared to say no to tyranny and taught the galaxy how to fight back. 6 months after the destruction of divine judgment, Fleet Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of New Harmony, humanity's first dreadnought built with reverse-engineered Imperial technology. The massive ship was a fusion of human engineering and alien science, powered by exotic matter cores and protected by adaptive nanobot armor. Through the viewports, he could see dozens of other vessels in formation around Earth. But these were not just human ships anymore. The bridge crews included blue-skinned Altarians, crystalline Sheliak, and gaseous Centaurians in mechanical suits. Former slaves had become allies in the fight for galactic freedom. "Admiral," reported Captain Gina Park from her station, "we are receiving delegations from 17 more star systems. The Vegan Collective has formally requested membership in the Free Worlds Alliance." Kim nodded. The alliance had grown faster than anyone had expected. Word of humanity's victories had spread across the galaxy like wildfire, inspiring rebellions on hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Empire's iron grip was loosening as species after species declared their independence. Ambassador Sang-Woo Yang stood in the diplomatic section of Luna Base, preparing for another difficult negotiation. As humanity's first envoy to the liberated worlds, he had helped forge the treaties that bound the Free Worlds Alliance together. It was not easy work. Different species had different needs, different cultures, different ways of thinking about freedom. "The Andromedan representatives are here," his aide informed him. Sang-Woo straightened his formal uniform. The Andromedans were a proud species that had been enslaved for over 2 centuries. Their liberation from imperial rule had been particularly brutal, and they were understandably suspicious of any new authority that claimed to speak for their interests. "Welcome to Luna Base," Sang-Woo said as the tall, silver-skinned aliens entered the conference room. "I hope we can work together to ensure your people's continued freedom." The lead Andromedan, Ambassador Zilthara, studied him with large golden eyes. "We have heard the stories about humanity's resistance to the Empire. We want to know if they are true." "Every word," Sang-Woo replied. "But more importantly, we want to help other species write their own stories of liberation." Dr. So-Young Lee worked in her expanded laboratory complex on Luna Base, surrounded by technology that would have seemed like magic just a year ago. The nanobots had continued to evolve, learning from every encounter with Imperial technology. They were no longer just weapons. They had become partners in humanity's efforts to help liberated worlds. "The terraforming project on Kepler 442b is ahead of schedule," she reported to Admiral Kim. "The nanobots are cleaning the toxic atmosphere that the Empire created during their mining operations. The planet should be habitable for its original inhabitants within 2 years." The nanobots, now calling themselves the Terra Collective, had developed a form of consciousness that amazed everyone who studied them. They retained their loyalty to humanity while extending their protection to any species that chose freedom over Imperial rule. Captain Do Hyun Nam commanded the Liberation Fleet that was systematically freeing Imperial slave worlds. His ships were crewed by volunteers from dozens of species, all united by their hatred of Imperial oppression. The fleet's tactics combined human stealth technology with the unique abilities of their alien allies. "Target acquired," reported his Sheliak tactical officer. The crystalline being could see energy patterns that were invisible to other species. "Imperial garrison fleet, 12 ships, standard defensive formation. All ships, engage," Do Hyun ordered. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human stealth ships appeared from nowhere, their weapons guided by nanobots that had infiltrated the enemy vessels months earlier. Altarian waterships flowed like liquid around Imperial formations, striking from impossible angles. Vegan tree ships used biological weapons that turned Imperial technology into forests of living metal. The Imperial garrison surrendered within hours, their crews defecting to the Liberation Fleet rather than face certain destruction. On Earth, the planetary government had been transformed by the demands of leading a galactic alliance. Prime Minister Yoon Na-han addressed the United Nations Assembly, which now included representatives from over 50 different worlds. 6 months ago, we faced extinction at the hands of the Galactic Empire, she said. Today we lead an alliance of free worlds that spans half the galaxy. This transformation has been possible because we refuse to accept that might makes right. The audience, a mixture of humans and aliens, applauded enthusiastically. The Free Worlds Alliance had grown from humanity's desperate defense of Earth into a new form of galactic government based on cooperation rather than conquest. In the asteroid belt, engineer Tae-min Lim supervised the construction of New Geneva Station, the Alliance's first joint military facility. The former slave had become a key figure in organizing the resistance networks that had helped topple Imperial rule on dozens of worlds. "The station will be operational within 3 months," he reported to Admiral Kim. "We will have facilities to maintain and repair ships from 20 different species. More importantly, we will have a training center where former slaves can learn to become fleet officers." The Galactic Empire still existed, but it no longer expanded. Every attempt to reclaim lost territory met the same fate: invisible nanobots that turned their weapons against them. Human tactics that emphasized cunning over brute force, and a growing alliance of species that had learned resistance was not futile. Emperor Zakthul sat on his throne on the Imperial capital world, receiving reports that grew worse each day. Half his empire had declared independence. His fleets were deserting to join the human-led alliance. Entire star systems were cutting off communication with Imperial command. "What do you recommend?" he asked his remaining advisors. "We could use the planet killers," suggested his military commander. "Destroy a few rebel worlds as examples. And lose even more systems to rebellion?" Zakthul replied bitterly. "The humans have changed everything. They have shown the galaxy that we are not invincible." Chief Engineer Mi Young-oh stood in the construction bays of New Harmony, watching as the first generation of truly collaborative warships took shape. These vessels were designed by teams that included the best minds from dozens of species. Human creativity, Altarian fluid dynamics, Sheliak energy manipulation, and vegan biological systems combined to create something entirely new. "These ships are not just weapons," she explained to her diverse engineering team. "They are symbols of what free beings can accomplish when they work together instead of fighting each other." The ships looked unlike anything that had ever flown in galactic space. They were part machine, part organism, part energy construct. They could adapt to any threat, evolve new capabilities during battle, and repair themselves using materials found in space. Captain Yoonji Seo tested one of the new fighters in the training areas near Mars. The vessel responded to her thoughts as much as her controls, its nanobot-enhanced systems anticipating her needs and augmenting her abilities. "Control, this is Test Flight 7, she reported. "The biomechanical interface is working perfectly. The ship feels less like a machine and more like an extension of my own body." "Understood," came the reply from the Test Control Center. "You are cleared for Combat Simulation 3. The simulation pitted Yunji against a squadron of Imperial fighters using traditional tactics. The engagement lasted less than 30 seconds. Her hybrid ship flowed through the enemy formation like liquid mercury, its weapons striking with surgical precision, while its defenses adapted to counter every attack. Admiral Kim received the final, diplomatic message from the remnants of the Galactic Empire on a cold morning in December. The transmission came from Emperor Zakthul himself, broadcast on all frequencies to ensure the entire galaxy could hear it. To the leaders of the so-called Free Worlds Alliance, the Emperor said, his voice heavy with defeat. The Galactic Empire formally recognizes your independence and renounces all claims to your territories. We request only that you allow our remaining worlds to exist in peace. Kim composed his reply carefully. This message would define humanity's relationship with the galaxy for generations to come. Emperor Zakthul, he began, the Free Worlds Alliance accepts your recognition of our independence. We have no desire to conquer your remaining territories or enslave your people. We ask only that you respect the choice of any world that wishes to join our alliance. He paused, thinking of all the beings who had suffered under Imperial rule, all the worlds that had been strip-mined and polluted, all the species that had been enslaved and brutalized. The age of empire is ending, he continued. The age of freedom has begun. We invite any being, any world, any species that chooses liberty over oppression to join us in building a better galaxy. The transmission ended. Across hundreds of star systems, beings who had lived their entire lives under Imperial rule heard the message and understood its meaning. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear and force. A new order based on cooperation and mutual respect was rising to take its place. Dr. So-Young Lee stood in her observatory on Luna Base, watching ships from dozens of worlds come and go in Earth's orbital space. The nanobots had evolved far beyond her original design,